Hello, everyone. I'm Claire Johnson, President of Mystery Writers of America, Northern California chapter. I'm here today with Margaret Dumas. Margaret is the author of the Movie Palace mystery series, set in a fictional movie theater that looks suspiciously like the Vogue in San Francisco. She is also the author of Speak Now and How to Succeed in Murder from Poison Pen Press, and the rom-com The Balance Thing from HarperCollins. Margaret is also a technical writer in Silicon Valley who has worked with a couple of companies you might have heard of. Yes, both of them you've heard of. And she's often said that she began writing mysteries as an outlet for her fantasies around murdering software engineers. There is often a tech angle in her book, and she really wanted to explore the latest in generative AI tech with her mystery writing colleagues. So Margaret, take it away.
Everybody. Thank you, Claire. Thank you guys for showing up on a Saturday afternoon. I appreciate it. I hope we're gonna have some fun and explore some things. I just want to make it really clear that I am not an expert in AI. I am learning some of this stuff because I have to for my day job, and some of this stuff because I feel like we all should, as writers, know what's out there and know kind of what's coming for us and what we can use to our advantage and how how it looks like everything is going to change. So I just wanted to sort of go through it all with you because it's scary to go through it alone. So community is good. So okay, I'm just going to start. I did a little deck. We're going to spend some time with the deck and some time just playing in all of the different applications. So so be warned, I did a test run earlier and I didn't crash, but these things are very flaky. So we may get hung, we may crash, there may be glitches, who knows. Okay, so here we are, generative AI for writers, and I would just like to have like a show of hands, my little subtitle here, cause for existential panic or handy set of tools. Who thinks it's a cause for existential panic? Yeah, okay, couple, okay. Who thinks it could be a handy set of tools?
Also,
Okay, oh, yeah, okay. All right, and I see that like me, some of you have held your hand up twice. I think it could be both. And the only way to know which way the balance is gonna go is to get in there and start using it. Um, okay, so I hope that you'll get out of this. I mean, you're not going to have an exhaustive understanding of AI technologies, but I hope that you will have a glimmer into what you can play with, what's free to use, what's safe to use, how you can use things safely. Um, and I'm really hoping that some of you might get an idea for a plot. I mean, this technology is going to change the way our detectives work, the way cell phones changed our detectives work, and the way Google changed our detectives work. And so I hope you'll think of the implications for your plotting as we're talking about this technology, which is, you know, here now and changing every day. Um, okay, so with that said, let's get into it. Oh, and I need to give focus back to this. What are we doing here? I hope we're talking. So as Claire said, just sing out if anything sparks a question in you or a comment or you've seen something different. Let me know. I hope that this whole set of 6 meetings is going to be a series of discussions, not lectures. And we're exploring. I want us to play with stuff. If you see me doing something interactive with one of the tools and you want to say, hey, well, what if we did this? Ask me and we'll do this. I mean, we want it to be a sort of a live experimental session. And we are not going to get overwhelmed. We're going to take this at our own pace. I tend to speak very quickly because I hate speaking publicly. And I just want to get through things really fast. But if you don't get something, or if I've glossed over something that you want to drill down on, let me know. We are going to do a buffet of AI technologies today. We are not going to drill down really deep on any of them, but I want to kind of seed you with some of the stuff we'll be talking about in depth later on. I think the focus is probably going to be on the word stuff, the text stuff, because that's who we are, we're word people. but just sing out if anything pops out. Okay, and I want to kind of start with playing. My technical writer brain says the first thing I should do is define terminology and explain to you the background of this technology and all that, but let's not do that. I was looking at this very boring set of slides. I just used a PowerPoint template, and I thought, ooh, wouldn't it be cool if I could use AI to generate a little design element that was like suitable for writers talking about AI? So I did that and I got unexpected results. And then I thought, instead of showing you those unexpected results, let's just do it live here because it changes every time. One of the things that I'm going to keep stressing is that these systems are always learning, and that means your results are unstable. It will never give you the same answer twice, especially the image generators. Okay, so what if I gave the AI a prompt? Now, a prompt is the way humans interact with AI tools. A prompt can be a question, a suggestion, directions. The thing that you use to communicate with AI is called a prompt. So what if we gave it a prompt that said, generate a fun graphic element for a PowerPoint presentation to writers? Okay, so we're going to try to do that. And I'm going to try it in a couple of different tools. I am using browser-based tools for this. There are apps for all of them, but I'm going to use browser-based tools just because they demo better. And the main three that I'm going to be using are Google's Gemini, ChatGPT, which is, I'm sure, the one you've heard about the most, and Microsoft's Copilot. So for this one, because I've stacked the deck and I've done this before, I'm going to use Copilot because I think it gives the most interesting graphics. ChatGPT really doesn't do graphics. But Copilot has licensed the DALL-E technology. I know that a couple of years ago, DALL-E images were everywhere, all of the AI images. And that's what Microsoft, anyway, I'm going to stop talking and just plug in this prompt and say, create a fun graphic element for a PowerPoint presentation for writers. And there's Copilot. Copilot is very chatty. Microsoft wants you to think that Copilot is your buddy. It really tries to humanize it, and I personally find that creepy. So we're generating. Like I say, it's different every time. So here are 4 suggestions of a fun graphical element for a PowerPoint presentation for writers. And you can you guys see this? Can you make this out okay?
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
So these are all weird. You see something up here that says AI generated content may be incorrect. And also it may just be batshit, it's just, who knows where it comes up with. But none of these are what I was thinking of. I said a design element, and this is really a design, and I believe this is Sigmund Freud with a pencil. I don't know. I am happy to see a person of color there, because one of the things about AI is it skews male and it skews white heavily. But okay, so maybe what happened is it didn't understand what I meant by a graphical element. So let's change the prompt. Let's instead say, create a fun glyph to be used in an, I have this all in a Word file because I didn't want you to suffer through my typing. So I thought I could just cut and paste. Okay, generate a fun glyph to be used as a design element instead of telling it to create a design element. So let's see what we get there. We're going to be spending a lot of time looking at things as it's thinking. See, and I keep doing that. It's thinking. It isn't thinking, it's processing. Okay, these are different, but also not great. But maybe some of these, if I took something like this, maybe I could take a design element of that. I don't know. It's still weird. A skull, a knife, a typewriter. I don't know. It's still not what I'm looking for. So let me try to be yet more specific.
What is a glyph?
Oh, a glyph is just, it's a design element. It's like a little curlicue or swirl or just a little something, a little logo, a little touch, a little design touch. Thank you for asking. Okay. And now I love this. Look at this. It says, feel free to use it in your presentation. Isn't that nice? The AI is giving me freedom to use it in my presentation. Okay, this is, again, totally not what I was expecting, a little different. Anyway, my point in all of this is, as you refine your prompt, theoretically, you can get closer to what you're looking for. This is actually a little bit closer to what I was looking for on this one. We're not there yet. We don't have time. That's not the point of this whole thing. But I just wanted to give you a little taste of using a prompt, getting something in return, refining it. Now, Copilot is very invested in refining it. And then it says, it gives you suggestions for going on. First of all, it suggests that I thank the bot for doing its work. I am not going to thank the bot for doing its work. I'm just not. It's not a person. But I could say, you know, it'll say, do you want to make this moody? Do you want to add some gears to the glyph? Whatever. But I think we've spent enough time on that.
What are gears, Margaret? Gears.
Gears?
Like
Like
gears.
I would assume like cogs.
Oh, really? Literally gears.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
I mean, let's
Okay.
see. Can you add some gears to the glyph? What does it do? La
I mean,
la.
it's not bot speak. That's what I'm asking, I
Oh,
guess.
no, it's
Oh,
yeah.
okay. It's
Adding-
gears.
Yeah,
It's gears.
yeah. Okay. Well, aren't gears fun? I don't know why it thinks we want gears. In any case, how about adding a mysterious background? You can see how you can just build on it and build on it. But the thing is, you're not building on it. I'm not adding a mysterious background onto any of these. I'm generating 4 new images. It never does actually build on one, which I find very frustrating. I want to say, okay, let's take this one and get rid of the thing of books. No, you can't do that. I mean, when we get into the images conversation later on, I can show you how you can take that JPEG, run it through a tool online and turn it into a vector diagram, bring it into Illustrator, modify it to your heart's content. That's not the same thing as just being able to say, no, I meant this. The way you would if you were talking to a human graphic designer, you would be able to say, no, I want this. Okay, have we seen enough of that?
Yep.
Yes, I think we've seen enough of that. Okay. Let's go back here. So, okay, so now we're gonna get, that was just my way of giving you a little taste of the dessert course. And now we're gonna eat our vegetables and I'm gonna define some terms. So just so everybody has an orientation in this, I'm gonna go really quickly, but I think it's important that we all understand the difference between AI and generative AI. So unless you guys object, do you guys think that this is old hat? You already know all of this stuff?
I know nothing.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. You're my target audience. Okay.
Oh, I know nothing. That doesn't mean everybody else doesn't know.
So let's talk about traditional AI. Traditional AI works with a defined set of rules. This is like a grammar checker or a spam filter knows your list of people that you don't want to get emails from. It works on restricted applications. So it applies those rules only within a certain chatbot, or Grammarly works within the Grammarly tool. It doesn't go out looking any further. It uses data analysis of specified sets of data, and it forms a conclusion based on that data. It compares what you're asking against the set of things that it already knows. It has limited learning capabilities. So systems can get smarter with experience, but you're never going to be able to ask your insurance company's chatbot about astronomy. It stays in its lane. So that's the traditional AI that we've probably all worked with, whether we know it or not, spell checks, Grammarly, that sort of stuff. So generative AI works with an unlimited scope of data. And that's gleaned from these things you'll hear about large language models. That's just software that absorbs content and it helps ingest. The terminology for AI is all about eating. It's like it ingests data, it gobbles up data, it eats data. So I hope nobody has issues with that. That's just the language around it. So the data that it can take in is unlimited. It can take in a book on astronomy and a book on, Baroque music and a book on poetry. It takes it all in, doesn't care, indiscriminately gobbles it all up. In an unrestricted environment, like you just saw, ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, there's no like bot. There's no little box that you type into. It's the browser. It's free flowing. There are also, phone apps and everything, but it uses human language to interact on any subject via prompts. It also uses data analysis, but it analyzes not by just comparing, is this on my list, or do I have this set of parameters? It uses neural networks, which is just another kind of software that tries to mimic how the human brain or a mammal's brain makes connections between things and multiple connections. So it uses this neural network software to generate original responses, not just returning a canned response based on an expected question. And then it has unlimited learning capabilities. So with every prompt and every upload, it is learning more. For example, Microsoft Copilot now knows that when someone asks for a design element and they subsequently ask for a glyph, maybe there's a connection between design elements and glyphs. And maybe the next time someone asks for a design element, they aren't looking for a design, they're looking for one little specific component. It learns, it remembers with everything that you put into it, including your original work. So we'll get back to that, but this is the first time I'm going to say, be cautious about what you upload, because there are going to be some things that I show you later on that you'll go, oh man, if I could do that to my book. And you can, but anything you put in the system is in the system. Caveat being, there are things like protected mode. My corporation has a protected mode for Microsoft Copilot where we can put our code, I work in translation as well as documentation. So we can put stuff up there and say, no, the system cannot absorb this. This is protected information. So we want the wisdom of the system, but it can't ingest this. I don't know if there are such protections for, like, if National Writers Union would do it, if MWA would do it. I don't believe you can do it on a personal level. I have heard if you run the browser Microsoft Edge, there are some things you can do. And by next time when we meet and we talk more in depth about privacy, I will know more about that. But for today, all I'm telling you is be careful, because it gets smarter by stealing everything it hears or reads. Okay, so what does all that mean? What does all that mean? That means, whoops, traditional AI can answer a question only if that answer is in the programming, but generative AI refers to everything it has ever ingested to formulate an answer. For example, in the localization work that I'm doing with a traditional AI, we have a glossary of preferred translation. When you're going English to Spanish, we want you to make sure that you use this term. Here are the terms that are in English. Here are the terms that are in Spanish. Fine. When we use a generative AI tool, it says, oh, I'm looking for click OK to continue. Let me look on the entire universe of everything that has ever been written on the universe, on the internet. And wherever it says click OK to continue, that's been translated into Spanish, I will retrieve those and I will choose the one that is most popular. And it does that before you can even snap your fingers. So it's more powerful. It's also less predictable. Traditional AI can play chess. Generative AI can invent a new game. I know someone who is working on generating new games with AI because it's changing everything in game generation. I know someone whose kid is playing Dungeons and Dragons and the dungeon master is ChatGPT. And I don't know how many of you are nerdy enough to understand what a dungeon master is, but it's a creative role. For us, bringing it back home, traditional AI can check the spelling and grammar of a book. Generative AI can rewrite a book for tone, can rewrite a book for, let's reduce the word count, can rewrite a book for, oh, can you make sure that this is only at the middle grade reading level? And let me show you, let's get back to playing with it. Let me show you a little bit about this. Because AI reads everything, owns everything that it reads, I did not want to upload anything into it to experiment on that it didn't already have. So Agatha Christie's The Mysterious Affair at Styles is already in the public domain. So that is what I'm using for my examples in all of these things. So this is a paragraph that is stuffy. For the convenience of the reader, I will recapitulate the incidents of those days. All right. If I pass that to an editor today, they might say, well, first of all, they might never get back to me because, but if they did say something, they might say, your writing is very stuffy. Or I might hear in my critique group from someone like Claire, your writing is very stuffy.
I would never.
Okay, so suppose
Maybe.
I am so suppose I am so stuffy that I don't even know what they mean by that. Well, what I can do is I can take that paragraph and let's stay in Copilot.
Are you in Copilot?
I'm in Copilot, yeah.
Okay.
So let's just say rewrite the following to sound less stuffy. And then I put the paragraph in. Oh, I can't scroll up, I'm sorry. So let's see what it does with it. All right, made it shorter. I had arrived at Styles on the 5th of July. I got to Styles on July 5th. I come now to the events of the 16th. Now let's talk about what happened on the 16th and 17th. For the convenience of the reader, I will recapitulate to make it easier for you. So yeah, it's making it less stuffy. It's making it more casual. And again, I am not going to say thank you. That sounds much better to the bot. So how do we feel about that? Are we getting a little sick to our stomach?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 Oh, maybe.
Glenda, you're on mute. Okay.
Oh, I'm
The convenience.
I'm not on mute, am I?
Oh, no,
No,
you're
Linda,
not.
no,
Glenda
no,
was.
Linda.
Glenda was talking now.
Oh, sorry. Did you
I'm
say-
not seeing the rewrite. I'm just seeing,
Oh, I'm sorry. Down here, can you see where I'm pointing here?
hold on one second.
No, there's nothing down
It's
there.
blank.
Oh gosh. Oh.
Yeah, there's nothing down there.
Okay, I'm gonna stop share and then go back to sharing and see if it'll take the whole thing because I'm seeing it. Okay. Can you see the whole screen now?
Yes.
Okay, what if I do this?
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah,
Yes.
can you make it bigger or no?
I don't know. How do I zoom a browser?
I'm thinking you just do it with my fingers, actually.
Well, I'm on a browser. I don't have fingers. I mean,
Oh.
desktop. I mean, I have fingers, but I would have to do it with a mouse.
What about the plus sign? I just did it for myself.
Is that no? That adds a new tab.
You
Oh,
try
you're on a
control
Mac,
scroll.
Are you on a Mac or a PC, Margaret?
I'm on a Mac.
Okay, on a Mac, it's Shift, Command, and plus sign.
Anyway, now I did it.
Command plus signs, what I.
Shift, Command, plus sign.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, you did
Oh,
it.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
So let's see if I can get both.
I've got a question if you have a sec.
Sure.
So you're saying that once you submit something like this to AI now owns the content?
It has absorbed the content. Ownership
Okay.
is a different thing. But
So
it
is
now
it
owners are
smart
filing
enough to know
lawsuits.
that that's Agatha Christie's writing and there's
Oh, yeah.
concerns there or stuff like that?
I got this because it was in the public domain. That's why
Okay.
I'm using it. So yeah, that's why I wanted to use this, because it's already in the public domain. I got it
Oh.
at Gutenberg.
Okay. So if
Um,
I were to submit a chapter of my novel to have AI do something to it, is that now in the public domain?
It's not in the public domain. It is now part of the memory of the AI tool that you,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank
So
you.
if you're writing about the Spanish Civil War and someone asks it a question about the Spanish Civil War, what you uploaded will be part of its overall calculation in generating an answer to
Okay.
that person. It becomes part of its body of knowledge.
I do have a related question to that though, and I haven't been following this super closely, so this is based a little bit on an impression I had as of a year or so ago. And it's not anything I was planning on doing, but I know it's something that some people might plan on doing, which is if you sort of co-write a piece with AI, it was my understanding that as people were interpreting copyright law, it was not copyrightable, because if there's any sort of artificial means of content creation that's not human, and it's not, the US Copyright Office will not recognize it. That's how I understood it. So that some people were seeing it as a big threat to anyone who does use AI beyond a certain point, which has not really been defined yet. So does anybody else know more about where the status of that argument is?
No.
No.
No, I know that now, I'm not sure it's if you use it AI at all, but I know that there's some talk around percentages, like some percentage of AI is acceptable, but I don't know what that percentage is. I don't know if it's a flat thing or if it's publisher by publisher or if it's a lot. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I just know,
Okay. I have something to add that I experimented with.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, I broke down and went on Chat GPT, created my account, quote, and I thought, what the hell could I do on this thing that won't kill me to try it? So I decided to put in a prompt, and the prompt was diamond found in person shrimp cocktail. So I typed it in, I said, write a short story about a diamond being found in a shrimp cocktail in the suspense genre, I think I put in there.
Mhm.
So it spit out, like 4 paragraphs, real short,
Mhm.
of a suspense drama about a diamond being found in a shrimp cocktail. I read it. It is superb.
Mm.
So then I went back in and I typed it in again. Write me a story about a diamond being found in a shrimp cocktail.
Mhm.
And it did a different one, right? Like you said, it never does the same thing.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. So while you were speaking, I went back in and I haven't looked at it, Chat GPT for 3 weeks now, whatever. And I did it again and I just read it. It's goddamn good.
Okay.
Okay, so then you were talking about, okay, is it, would you be able to use something that you wrote and it got improved, let's say, by Chat GPT? But you know what? What if the story about the diamond and the shrimp cocktail, because it's kind of a fun concept, whatever. It could be on a cruise ship, it could be a restaurant, it could be anywhere, right? What if you took that, and I'm not saying I would, because in my gut, I wouldn't, because I love writing and creating my own thing. But what if I took one of these and I just kind of, changed a whole bunch of stuff or changed some things or blended the ideas together somehow or whatever. And with my own, you could do that and write something brilliant.
Mhm.
Right? And all you're doing is using Chat GPT or whatever, Copilot, as kind of an idea generator.
Of a prompt.
Like you would, well, it's more than a prompt. It's giving you a story. It's not a prompt, but it gives you food for thought on how you might shape that story. Anyway, that's the way I saw it in the end. In the beginning, I was like, oh shit, this is better than I can write. Maybe it is. And that was the scary part. To me, that's the scary part.
No, to me, the scary part is the fact that a publisher could do this and they don't need you at all.
Right.
That to me is the scary part, is if you
Right.
can do it, a publisher can do it. And a publisher could charge you 99 cents for a excellent romance and or a mystery novel. And why would they want to involve contracts and human people making demands like, royalties, things like that?
Well, that's why I was taking a lot of comfort from that argument about copyright, because I was certainly at a certain point foreseeing a time when publishers would say exactly what you're saying. Like, why are we dealing with these writer schmucks when we can just push a button and output this stuff? But no big publisher is going to put money into something they can't copyright or that they can't control. So, but it's still up in the air what the law is actually going to shake.
Except, Stephen, they don't need to control it because they can keep generating new stuff. They don't. I don't think they really
don't
need
want to put
control.
Resources into making something popular, and then anyone else can take that same.
They can. Everyone can scrape it.
So
no, but what I can see them doing. What I can see them doing is saying, our new AI imprint, get a new book every week. And then they don't care how many people are ripped off because you're subscribing to get a new AI book every week and they've got your money that way.
Oh,
I mean, if a publisher
is going to do that, it is
thinking
just
about
a matter
that,
of time.
yeah.
Okay, but they can't do that if you wrote a memoir, which I just released, my memoir about growing up in the Bronx, and they can't really create your story. You can improve your story by using this AI, but somebody else can't really take your story and make it a memoir.
No, that would be, I don't think AI can write every kind of book, but I do think that they can give it enough parameters. If somebody at the big publishers isn't working on right now that says, okay, I need, I'm just going to take an example from someone that I know who was told by the publisher, I need you to write something featuring a woman in her 60s who owns a dog, who runs a diner, who, and if they can put that into a AI instead of calling someone where it's going to take 6 months to write it. For the formulaic stuff that they just churn out. This is the answer for that. It's not the memoir.
And to balance my argument, they can't really do that with a memoir, but they could take the memoir idea and turn it into fiction.
Sure.
Or write a memoir of Agatha Christie. There's so much out there, Google Agatha Christie, how many pages come up?
Mm-hmm.
They could easily do things, Lucy Worldsleep wouldn't be very happy about that, but it could certainly happen,
Yeah.
Right now, it could happen now. Sure.
Yeah.
Because they're scraping everything. They're scraping, right?
In terms of AI generated nonfiction, that is already happening. You just have to go to Amazon, and it's not the reputable publishers that are doing it. It's the fly by night scammers. But absolutely, they're already scraping the internet to create biographies of this person and that person, and this animal and that animal. Nonfiction is unless it's memoir, unless it's an individual, living individual's personal experience. It's wide open and people are already, squeezing out of it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm not sure if I missed this, and getting back to what you were saying, Linda, about, getting that story, the 4 pages, so forth.
Yeah.
What happens if you did take that and you included it in your story, but then you find out years later that was also included in somebody else's story?
Well, that could happen anyway.
Yeah. So that's what I was wondering, Oh, we at this point we don't know, do we? Yeah, but it was just one of those things. It's wonderful what you said, that it's great, but can I use it?
It was awesome.
A quick question. On Amazon, if a book is completely generated through AI, do they say that? Or do they come up with a fictitious author?
No, they're not obligated to say it, so they why would
Right.
they? There are a few. I know there's a few writers, whatever packagers, who are putting out AI generated fiction, and that's sort of the gimmick. They're saying this is all AI written.
Yeah.
And apparently they're awful, but they're out there, and some people are curious and they buy them, so those people get money, so they're happy because they had to put money into it.
Okay.
For nonfiction stuff, you wouldn't have to say so. Why would you?
Although the Authors Guild is trying to work around that, aren't they? Aren't they trying to do something about that? That it has to be. I mean, if they admit it, then what does it matter? But I thought the Authors Guild was trying to tackle that. But
Okay, another fun thing that I did on Chat GPT a couple of weeks ago was I thought, okay, what else could I do? So I put in my author name, Linda S. Gunther, and I said, tell me about this author.
Oh, have we all done that? Yeah.
Have you all done that?
Oh,
Okay, they wrote a brilliant 4-paragraph deal with quotes from interviews.
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
it's all out there.
Okay, you all did that already? And how was it?
I'm going to restrain myself when we get off here from me doing that.
Well, I was afraid, but I thought, do it.
Real quick, getting back to what I was saying before, what, Linda, if you took that what you were given by AI and used it, what happens if, could it be possible that it was something that was written by somebody else that they had put into AI, somehow property of somebody?
Oh, that's a good point.
That's not supposed to be how it works. It's supposed to be, it's
Yeah.
generated. That's why it's different.
It's generated,
every
yeah.
time. It's
Yeah.
pulling, it's going to different words every time, which leads it down.
Yeah, I
to
know.
So
Yeah.
it's not
Different
going to be
setting.
cutting and pasting like a kid cheating on their homework or something.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
will be something that's, but the danger you run into is if you, let's say you do that, you take a chunk, but you rewrite other stuff, but you leave a chunk in that the AI wrote, there is AI detection software. And who finds out that you stuck in X percentage of stuff that was generated by AI, which throws it into a copyright question, and you didn't tell them that, they're going to be very unhappy with you. So it's not.
Okay, but that's a very good thing for us.
Yes. Yeah.
So on Amazon, you have to, when you submit a manuscript, they ask you, did you use AI in any part of this process? And so you're supposed to acknowledge it then. And I believe Ingram Spark does the same thing.
Oh, good.
I just submitted to Berkeley and they did the same thing. Yeah.
And then what happens if you say yes? What is happening to you all?
In the case of mine, if I had said yes, it would have been rejected.
There you go. That's a good thing.
So, and then I don't know if they run detection on it to make sure everybody is saying the truth, or if they just say, all right, I have a signature from Margaret Dumas saying she didn't use AI. So if somebody out in the world ever does it, it's on Margaret, it's not on us. I don't know how much they want to be ethical and how much they just want to protect themselves legally.
Well, the only sad thing is I can't use this idea about finding a diamond in a shrimp cocktail.
An emerald. Use an emerald in a cocktail. Well, I read somewhere that especially in the humanities that the students are turning in AI generated papers that are brilliant, Linda. And so now they're making everybody go back to writing papers longhand in the classroom.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yay!
Short-sighted to stop teaching cursive, wasn't it?
Yes, all that Catholic school time wasn't lost.
This is happening in the music business. Music business is probably ahead of the writing business, but a lot of music's being generated by AI.
Yeah.
And to the point where people are calling themselves composers and musicians because they used AI to generate a song. And they predict that long-term music streaming services are going to use AI to tailor music to just what you want to hear. So you could say, oh, I would like to hear an up-tempo song that sounds like the Beatles, da-da-da, and the AI will generate it for you. And Spotify or whoever will get to keep all the streaming royalties. They think that's
Well-
going to be the long path to
I'm surprised
how we
that's not
consume
happening now.
music.
Well, and I was going to say, I don't want to jump to the end of Margaret's presentation,
Right.
in terms of, the decimation. But yeah, that was the great fear for me, was that, let's say Amazon, which I think is the number one, suspect here
Yeah.
for this kind
Mhm.
of thing. Why would they not, as soon as they could roll it out, create something that is exactly what you talk about for
Yeah.
genre fiction? Do
Sure.
you want
Yeah.
a Western set in the 1890s in Wyoming that stars a woman who runs a ranch? Dink, 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 dink. And they'll send you a new one every day. They can. So when's that going to happen? Really, I think it's just a matter of time.
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 months. Yeah,
Well, they have Bella, but
Jen-
that's why they have Bella, those episodes that authors we know are doing. I don't know, are any of you doing Bella?
I did it and it was pointless.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
absolutely pointless because the amount of money that they charge is, even the least amount of money that you can charge is still more than an entire book.
ROI, right.
So,
ROI.
and also I think it works better in very, very specific genres. I mean, I wrote an YA book and I thought, okay, that might get some audience. Not at all. And but I think fantasy probably does pretty well. Sci-fi probably does okay. People who come out of fandom because they're used to stories being, works in progress. They're used to being fed a chapter every other week. But I don't think if you don't come out of fandom, I think, we would like to think, we're the next Charles Dickens. But I don't think it works like that now. At least in my experience, it didn't work like that. People don't, and that's pretty genre. I mean, YA, it was, but it didn't, it wasn't worth it to me.
But
I
what if
pulled it out.
what if they took Bella, Amazon took Bella, and they turned it into an AI
Oh,
storyteller?
sure. Oh, yeah, they could do that. But
Yeah.
you'd have to, I think the thing is people don't want to wait though. I mean, fandom, I know that this was based on a fandom novel because people in fandom, it's a whole community thing. You might be sitting in a dark room with your computer, but you have an entire community of people who are discussing this chapter or this, half of this novel or whatever. But on Vela, you're just on Vela. So there's not that community, which I think a serialization needs. I mean, in Dickens' time, everybody was standing on street corners reading Dickens, right? So that was the community. But you don't have that with Vela. It's almost like a standalone. And it was a great model in fandom, but I just don't see it working in Vela. But that's just my experience.
But it could be an AI model for
Oh
Amazon.
yeah, sure. If you're willing to wait,
I can see, munging it together with other technology of, okay, I want to have a chapter sent to me to text on my phone. Text me the new
Yeah.
chapter every day.
Yeah.
I'll read it on the bus on the way to work,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that is scary.
Well, for me, yeah. Yeah, so here we are. Okay, we're scared. Do we want to go on? Do we all just want to go hide under covers now?
Let's go back to your presentation, please.
Okay. Okay, where was I? Let's see. Okay, so we're done with styles. Let's go to, it sounds like all of you guys already have all of this. But here are, okay, I'll put this in the chat. And because I do encourage you to, why is this not going? Meeting chat down here. I do encourage you to get to know your enemy. And see what you can leverage and what you need to be on guard about. And these are like the big three, but there are tons more. And there are phone apps as well. So this is by no means exhaustive.
I use sudo write.
Pardon?
I used sudo write once.
Oh yeah.
SUDO. And I just used it for discussing a plot issue, and it was helpful. And then I did ask it to write something in the style of Ellen Kirschman. And unlike Linda's experience, what came back was absolute crap. It was hyperbolic and it looked like the back of a jacket cover. It was just
It was crap?
crap. C-R-A-P, crap.
Interesting.
Oh, because my experience was it was fabulous.
Well, and you use different tools. One was ChatGPT and one was pseudo-write. Yeah.
I just put into the chat one that I've been using called Claude,
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Claude.ai.
What's your
Which,
experience been?
which I found to be very useful. I've vetted a couple of chapters and said, proofread this for me. And it's come back, it hasn't had any, I've been like, trying to find typos, but instead it's been like, you might want to include more descriptive,
Yeah.
And I was like, and like this part seems like a little bit of an info dump. And I'm like, wow, who is this person about, writing this to me? But I found that it was much more editorial and when I was really just sort of looking for proofreading. But I sort of took to heart some of the things that Claude had to say about a couple of the chapters that I gave, just as an experiment to see what it was like.
Yeah. I haven't put my own stuff in there to see what they would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it. I spent a lot of time on ChatGPT as well, and I actually think I like Claude better. I think for fiction writing, Claude seems like a better fit, at least for me. And what I found, ChatGPT was better at, write me a resignation letter, write me a toast to give at a wedding. I could use it sort of more as a pragmatic. It's a practical tool for all those things that you don't like to have to write, like sympathy letters and.
Right. One thing I did notice about doing this process with what I described, if you read it is beautiful writing. You're like, wow, this is really clever, but it is missing a little bit of that emotion. And I'm wondering, Margaret, if you were going to talk about that at all, because that is an element, the deeper human emotion doesn't quite come out in what I see from at least ChatGPT.
I'm not surprised at all about that. I have uploaded some of my work writing, so a couple paragraphs from a user manual that I wrote. And I said, check for grammar, check for errors and suggest improvements. And it rewrote me. And I said, how dare you? And so what it did when I said suggest improvements, it made it sound like tech writing. It made it sound like an engineer was talking to another engineer. And I was like, okay, that's more concise. It is not the vibe. It is not the vibe I'm going for. And it's not treating the human like a human, which is integral to the overall user experience that we're working with. And I was like, would I give it parameters?
Yeah.
We're going to get into personas in a minute. Could I assign it a persona saying, you are chatty and informal? Now rewrite this.
Yes.
I could see what would happen. I don't know. I have some prompts here that we could play with.
Okay.
So, let's do this one. Whoops. What writing organization has Edgar Allan Poe as its logo?
I know.
Anybody know? Okay. Well, let's see if they know. Okay. Let's just do this really quickly. Okay. This goes into like, can we use it for research reliably? And I think maybe if you already have some familiarity with it, like if we just said that to Google,
right?
What writing organization has Edgar Allan Poe?
Oh yeah, you'll get it on Google.
You would think.
Yeah, I think
you would be wrong. Yeah. Yeah. So then what happens if we do Google Gemini? Because the way Google works is it says, I think I know the answer. Let me give you the most popular ones, the most clicked on ones. So apparently when people have asked that, they have gone to the Edgar Allan Poe Society more often than they've gone to MWA. So that result is prioritized. So if we ask the same question of Google Gemini, couldn't find it. Couldn't find it. Nope, there's no, it understood a writing organization, but it said we can't find it. Okay, ChatGPT.
Ah,
There we
bingo.
are.
Bingo.
Oh,
And that's all it says. Mystery Writers of America uses Edgar Allan Poe. Okay, Copilot. Now look at that. This is why I like Copilot. Because not only does it tell me more, but it cites its sources. It said it got that information from MWA Wikipedia, from the Edgar Awards, from mysterywriters.org, and from the Edgar Allan Poe Wikipedia. I appreciate that it cites its sources. Because if I'm researching something and I want to rely on it, I want to know, did that come from Reddit? You know, did that come from somebody's blog from 1993? And this tells me. So on this sort of thing, I think Copilot wins, but I also think you've got to test them all and get comfortable with the one that you use. If that turns out to be Claude or any of the others, then fine. Okay, and now back to
I would love, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to jump in for 1 second with a little couple quick anecdotes about
Yes.
using these guys for research. I tend to use ChatGPT because I'm lazy, and that's just the one that I became familiar with first.
Right.
And I have found it to be useful at times as a research aid. I got to write a lot of historical stuff.
Right.
But I've learned to be very wary of the answers that it gives. It can be flat out wrong. And the thing about ChatGPT is if it doesn't quite know or can't quite figure it out, it's not going to say, I'm not sure about this, but it will give you an answer, a wrong answer, as if it is fact. I was trying to figure out if there were dead letter offices in different parts of the country, specifically Denver in like 1894. I asked ChatGPT, it said, yes, there was, da 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 da. And then I did my own further research and learned that no, I found a definitive thing said that there was one dead letter office in the entire country. At that time, it was in Washington, D.C. I think it was blah, blah, blah. So I went back and I told ChatGPT, you told me a wrong thing, and ChatGPT apologized. I also one time was trying to remember, some of us will remember Sophie Littlefield, writer from the Bay Area, and she has a brother who's a mystery writer or thriller writer. And I was like, oh God, for whatever reason that day, I was trying to remember his name. So I asked ChatGPT. So the writer Sophie Littlefield has a brother who is also a writer of thrillers. What is his name? And ChatGPT said, Sophie Littlefield's brother is Marcus Saki, the famous writer of da-da-da-da. Marcus Saki is not Sophie Littlefield's brother.
wow.
He is not.
Wow.
Okay, so
So it
yeah.
just made it up. It just made it
Yes.
up. I have
Yes.
no idea why it would think that.
Margaret, I just want to tell you that I have ChatGPT open and I just asked the question, what company or organization uses Edgar Allan Poe as logo? And it came up with a whole paragraph about MWA.
And you know what? It did for me earlier today too. When I ran through this earlier to test whether I was going to crash. Yeah.
I just posted in the chat what Claude said about.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's pretty comprehensive, actually.
It is. Yeah. Wow.
Oh, okay.
Going on.
About what Claude, what another tool said?
Yeah, it's the Claude tool. That's what I've been messing around with lately.
Interesting. Okay, now I need to start playing with Claude.
Yeah, Claude's pretty cool.
I want to read Claude's privacy policy. That to me is the most interesting thing of all of these, the privacy policy, the terms and conditions.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So are we all familiar with the concept of a persona? Like, instead of just saying, answer this question, say, you are blah, blah, blah. Now answer this question. In this instance, I said, you are a mystery author who will moderate a panel at BoucherCon. The panel will include Laurie R. King, Katrina McPherson and Gigi Pandian.
Oh,
5 questions for the panel. Ah, now we're interested.
Now we're interested.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's feed that in.
okay.
Okay, let's do share back to Firefox. And okay, let's do Gemini, Google Gemini. Okay. Google Gemini. Interesting. Considering the panel's strength in historic mystery, Scottish crime, fiction. Why don't I blow this up again now that I know?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
That's good. Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gosh, this
Yeah.
is terrifying.
It
This
is terrifying. Okay.
Well,
Same thing in ChatGPT. What do we get?
is it terrifying? I don't know.
Oh,
Oh,
look at this. Look at this.
actually,
Ah,
Very nice.
okay. You're oh wow.
Wow.
12 panelists. Okay.
Yep.
Pilot, you've got a high bar to clear here. What are you gonna give us?
Well, I just thought of a way to use this really well.
I know. This is like, okay, next time it's midnight before your panel and you haven't done your homework.
Or you're giving a talk about being a writer and you're like, oh God, I don't have to give it.
Look
Whatever.
at that. Interesting. It looks like it looked what these look like Boucher Khan.
Oh,
yes.
that's good.
These are titles for BoucherCon
titles for-
panels.
It's Boucher Khan panels.
Yep. Yep.
So
yep.
it got Boucher Khan, but it's not being specific about the 3 writers in this.
Oh,
You know what
yeah.
I bet this is? I bet these are the titles of panels that those 3 authors
Oh, I bet it is.
have been on.
I bet it is.
That's what they're, there's
I
they've
bet
scraped
it is.
they've
Yeah.
scraped the program and they were on, maybe not all of them were on all panels, but enough of them were on these panels that
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
So I'm going to be moderating a panel at BoucherCon. If I was to use this to generate questions, what do I owe my audience about telling them where I got the questions from?
Well, what does your own personal gut say?
Well, I haven't had time to think about this. I think I would probably look at the questions and personalize them more.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I would read them word by word, but it's a really big help because
It is.
as you know, moderating a panel can be a great deal of work.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
don't
I know. I always feel obligated to read at least one book of every panelist who's on there. And if I were doing a lot of panels, that's a lot of work.
Yes. And I feel obligated at least to read people's websites,
Mm-hmm.
get a sense of what how they write and what they write.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
I will play with this some more. Don't tell anybody.
Okay.
Thing. I mean, I don't feel like you're not charging anyone for this. The discussion that comes from it is, I don't know. For me, I feel like, yeah, I wouldn't feel that bad about this. I wouldn't feel that bad about using these questions.
I mean,
Or
basically,
I
they're
should
pretty
say,
generic. I mean,
depending on these
these are generic, right? I mean, how many panels have I attended at BoucherCon and Left Coast Crime and various other crime fiction cons? These are not the Albert Einstein of questions.
True.
You know what I'm saying? That these are pretty generic. These are, I read your books and
Yeah.
so
They're fine. They're not going to get people coming up to you afterwards and saying, "Oh my God, that was a great panel. That was,
no,
that was you,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
I guess I would say at the beginning,
Why?
some blah blah blah, and some of them I came up on my own. Let's see what happens. I mean, I guess I would be more upfront about it, but yeah,
yeah.
I don't think you
Well, since I can already see a segue, since my panel is about writer's block.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Do
there you
you
go.
use AI to help with writer's block? Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, guys. This is an unexpected benefit.
Now we'll be out there selling AI.
Emma 115.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I think we're out of time.
no, I did 2 hours, I think, Margaret.
Did you? Oh,
I
well,
think
I
so.
only prepared for one.
Oh, no,
Okay.
I
It
think
was
I did 2 hours. But
if
I
you
mean,
guys-
if people,
guys-
I don't need 2 hours.
Okay, so, and then, you know, getting back to the graphics, I have a story of my first publisher, which Claire mentioned was Poison Pen Press. When I wrote my first book, it takes place like immediately after this couple get married and they don't know each other very well. And I thought a fun cover would be like a hotel room with bridal clothes strewn around, and on the nightstand is a string of pearls and a gun. And so we get the impression that maybe there are secrets in this new couple. And so I tried to convey this to the publisher, not talking directly to the graphic artist, but to the publisher, who then talked to the graphic artist. And they, whoops, I didn't mean to stop, I meant to switch. And what we wound up with was this. And I'm going to say that's a bad cover.
Yeah, I don't like that.
That's a bad cover. And I mean, we went around and around and around and around. So I was trying to think of how would I explain that to an image generating bot? And could I get something that would prompt the conversation, something that could act as a spec sheet for a graphic designer to convey my thinking? I would certainly not use it. Let me see, share Firefox. And I know that Copilot is better at graphics than the rest of it. So let's just say that in there. You're designing, again, assigning a persona, you're designing a book cover. Whoops, oh, damn. Okay, I was afraid this might happen. I'm gonna have to stop share as I sign in. Talk amongst yourselves.
Oh, Margaret, just an aside, it couldn't be worse than my cover with Poison Pen. I think
I
we both
don't
have to
know
admit that.
what is the matter with them. I mean, those guys are crazy.
Well, I think at the time they were basically handing it out to a local college student who was in graphic design, and I'm not making that up.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I think, but and now I've seen other books, you know, that had wonderful covers. It's just my cover was not the best. But you're so happy to have a contract, right? How much? I mean, we were playing with a book that I've been shopping. Margaret and I were playing with a book that, just to create a cover, and it was a beautiful cover. I would like snap that cover up in a minute.
Oh, the Chinatown cover, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back in. All right, so we have 4 examples of that potential book cover. And none of them are really right. Oh, in this one, I think they're having a 3-way. Why are there tuxedos? But I think you could iterate on it and then have something of a spec to say to your graphic designer or to your publisher, this is what I'm thinking. So I can see that this would be used for that. Where am I going with this? I've lost my tangent. Let me go
I
back.
think the problem with these is that they're so busy.
Yes.
Very busy. Yeah.
They're very busy.
Yeah. Let's see. Should we try? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go off script, you guys.
all right.
And I'm gonna show you not one of these big generative AI tools, but I'm gonna show you what Adobe is doing within its tools. So this is Adobe Illustrator. Is everybody familiar with Adobe Illustrator?
Yes.
Okay, so As it's a vector drawing program. It's for creating images. So what they did as of maybe a month ago is I'm going to draw a rectangle. And then down here, beta. Oh, I did this earlier. I'm going to say that whole thing. Whoops. Oh no, that's too much for it. Okay, that's why I said string of pearls earlier. Okay. Well then, let's just say, what do we want to draw? Just tell me anything. What do you want to draw?
Ring of pearls and a weapon.
Okay. Oh, all right. It doesn't want me to play.
What were you going to do?
Okay. Let me try to give it something really easy. I'm trying to
Margaret, did you want to do my book, the one we did before? Like it was like the Côte d'Azur and a couple
Yeah.
on the beat. Yeah. So
okay,
Côte d'Azur.
I'm just trying to make sure that it works right now. Yes, I am generating something now. This is another thing you'll find. Okay, I said bird. And now I have a bird. And that's with me not knowing how to draw. And I went into Illustrator and I said I would like a bird. And I can edit it however much I want. And if I did this on a background of like jungle colors, it would adapt. Anyway, we'll get on into all of this in the image stuff, but this is another way. What did we do? Describe your book cover, Claire.
It was well, first we were looking for the French Riviera, right?
Okay.
And then as I remember, we added a couple and a man and a woman on the beach. I think that was it, wasn't it?
I think we decided a flapper, like
yeah, a flapper, yeah. And you selected we were designing a book cover, right? Or did you tell it you're designing a book
I don't
cover?
remember. Okay. And I just want to show you over here well, no, while this is going on. Oh, you can probably see because the chat window isn't open for you. You can see that it's like working on it over here. And you can tell it how much detail you want it to. Oh, there is.
That
That's
wasn't
not a
what came up
flapper
before.
woman.
It was very elegant. It was Art Deco,
we
wasn't
got
it?
there eventually. We kept changing the.
Did we want Art Deco or something?
Yeah. Oh, I think we did say an
Art
Art
Deco.
Deco image. No. Okay. It gives you these little prompts, these little tips every time you do something, and I always think they're error messages.
I mean, when we were playing around with it, it was quite a pretty cover, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely something that you could use as a mock-up.
Interesting.
Huh.
It doesn't look very French Riviera.
That's a little bit more Art Deco, but not French Riviera. Anyway, you guys, I hope what you're getting from this is a miracle. This is unbelievable what this can do.
If I interject,
Yeah.
and maybe this is exactly where you were going, Margaret, but I'd like to throw out a related ethical issue
Yeah.
that I find myself facing, and I think probably most of us will end up wrestling with this sooner or later, if you're not already, and that is using AI generated art, which replaces the work of human artists.
Yep.
So if you go on Facebook, you will see, at least, for me as a book person on Facebook, 90% of the ads that I see that are literature related, book related, have AI generated art. So, it's already flooding in there. I'm in a situation where I'm going to be self-producing a couple of audiobooks in the fall. I hope to be able to license for a pretty good price some art that was created by a human person, but I might not be able to. And my margin of profitability on these things is very small. And I certainly have no intention of losing money on an audiobook. So I have, I could just say, well, screw it. I can very easily go into Canva or something else and for free create audiobook covers that are better than most of the audiobook covers I've ever had.
Wow.
Do it in about 25 minutes.
Yep.
It's very easy to
It's
do.
magic. It really
It's
is.
magic and it's free.
Yeah.
So,
But,
but do I do that? And I've been
Exactly.
trying to hold the line of like, no, I don't.
Exactly.
I want to support my fellow creative people,
Uh-huh.
but free and good and fast is very hard to argue with. Especially
okay.
when I realize, like, is this just a fait accompli? I can try to hold the line now, but in 5 years, 10 years, whatever, that's just the way all this stuff's going to be done.
Yeah.
So what difference does it make if I cave now or I cave later?
Right.
These are the questions I'm asking myself.
And I think
Okay,
we all have
Steve.
to ask ourselves.
So I have a question. So Steve, you're saying you're doing the audiobooks straight onto audio and not having a print book first.
No, there will be print books, and those are the ones, the covers that I might be able to license fairly reasonably, but I might not. It did, the publisher's kind of annoying. So maybe it'll be, but I held the audiobook rights. I retained those. So I'm doing those through ACX with a human person.
Yeah, me
That's a whole
too.
other question about AI.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
not using an AI
Me
narrator.
too.
I'm a
Right.
person. So I'm splitting,
Okay.
which makes my profitability half
Yeah.
what it would have been, but that's okay.
Well, you could do it by project and just pay the person upfront fee and they don't get half of your proceeds.
Yeah, but that's assuming that I make a certain amount of money and off the project and can will still make a profit if I pay him his hourly rate, which I would not. So we're doing a profit.
Right,
split.
you're doing a shared.
Yes. So that way there's no upfront cost for me.
Right.
I'm trying to avoid upfront costs because again,
Right.
the margin is very, very slender.
None of us are making millions at this.
No.
None of us.
Right, like it's like
Yeah.
I'm talking pizza money every month. So
Right,
and in the long run that works, but in the
Right.
short run, I'm in the red on something.
Right, of course. Well, because I did 2 projects, but I did them for cost up front. For the narrator, I paid them, and they really did it very cheaply.
Mm.
I was very surprised, and they're excellent. So it really worked well. But of course, I don't have to share then any profits from the audio.
Yeah, that in the long run, that's a good way to go. I guess I'm short-term minded, but yeah,
Yeah.
I just wonder if other people have thoughts. I know of one other writer who I see, post on Facebook, that she will unfriend you, she will, say goodbye to you, she will consider you persona non grata if you use AI generated art in any capacity, in any way. She must not have noticed some of the stuff I've already done because I've already used it to create posts which have sort of an ad purpose, just to sort of like grab people's attention to say this thing's so yeah, she would already have disowned me. But how do other people feel about this? Are we obligated to support our fellow creatives and not use AI for certain things?
Yeah.
I think so. But
Okay, this is where I came down on it. I asked myself, is this something I would do myself or would I hire a professional? If AI didn't exist, would I do it myself or would I hire a professional?
Right.
For an editor, I have hired editors. I would hire a graphic artist to do a cover, but if I'm doing inside the book, if I'm doing a floor plan or a map or a family tree, that's
Right.
something I would probably try to do in Illustrator on my own and take days to do it. And if I used AI, I could get it much cleaner, much faster. So that's just me, and where I'm coming down on it now is assume AI doesn't exist. Do you hire it out or do you do it yourself?
Well, if you have Illustrator, you've already made a financial investment in buying it.
Yeah.
And so for us people who don't have Illustrator and don't want to, I don't know how much it is now, but it's always been very expensive. So, you know what I mean? You're making an upfront investment on using Adobe Illustrator.
I haven't thought of it that way. Yeah.
I'm just saying as somebody who doesn't have it, who thought about it, but it's like, it wouldn't be a good return on investment, kind of from a short-term perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, and it's so funny, Steve, because all of the things you were talking about, are things that I'm like, well, you have to make a call on all of it, voiceover.
Yeah, right, of course.
Yeah, I'm being asked at work to use AI for voice for the videos, the educational videos we do.
Yeah,
And it kind of breaks my heart because I've been working with this company in San Francisco, Voice One, and I've actually been taking classes to be a voice actor.
yeah,
Not because I want to do it, but because I want to get better at doing readings of my own book when I do.
yeah, yeah. I thought
and,
about it.
and I love those guys. They're
Oh.
great. And with the AI, my management is right in saying, yes, but if you do it in AI, then we can do it in English, French, German, Italian,
Right.
and then this fast. And I'm like, yeah,
Wow.
that's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, I love your heart. I love your ethics. We're already friends. I'd friend you again.
Yeah, I'm not going to cast you out of the circle.
Thank you, everybody. I do appreciate it.
When I signed a contract with my current publisher, we tried to, my agent and I tried to have a clause inserted in the contract that they would not use AI, and they refused because
Okay.
they said that the state of AI is so fluid that they felt like they could not commit themselves. And I'm sure if they can get a, AI generated proofread, copyright, all that copy read, all that stuff, it would definitely help them with their profit margin. And they gave me, I think, 5 absolutely gorgeous covers. It had never occurred to me to ask if those were AI generated or do they have an art department? I have no idea, but when we went back and forth and I just said, no, you can't have that word there. It doesn't make sense for the book. I mean, it was back in less than 24 hours. So either they got a hardworking staff or they're doing AI. And it's, it's a little like pretending that the lamb chop you eat in the supermarket when it's wrapped up in styrofoam and shrink wrap, it didn't come from an actual animal. So, I mean, I think this is the ethical dilemma of the century.
Yeah.
And because I job out as much as I possibly can. I'm able to do that. I'm fortunate. I'm able to do that. Plus, I'm absolutely terrible at anything other than writing. I mean, even managing the software, I'm back to 3x5. I don't know that right now that there's an answer to this. It's certainly, I try to go through the line at the supermarket and not use the checkout so I can talk to a human being, but we're not going to fix this. I think we have to do what we can do in small increments that make us look in the mirror at ourselves.
But also, I mean, say for your book publisher, Ellen, I mean, this person isn't handing it to the janitor between picking up waste paper baskets. There's someone, okay, so the way I see it is instead of having 100 people generate book covers, you're going to have one person. There's someone who knows things about, knows about graphic design, knows, the triangle thing and the typeface thing. It's just that there's going to be a whole cadre of people who are going to be pushed out because you only need one person. And it's like what happened in the book business. All of a sudden, all the editors got fired, right? Because, you only need one editor, right?
Well, I mean, this happened when we stopped smoking cigarettes. I mean, where did all the tobacco growers and pickers go? I mean, and it's going to happen over and over in various industries. And one can only hope that some of the people who used to pick tobacco have been trained to do something else.
Right.
There will be an open market but obviously educated people who are trained to use computers.
Yeah.
But it will be much smaller. There won't be 100. There won't be 100 people in India. There will only be one. Right. So.
Yeah, it's really daunting, and it kind of makes me glad to be the age I am now.
Oh, yeah.
My
yeah.
my cousin's kid got on a Zoom call with me the other day, and he's a senior in college to be a programmer, an engineer. And he's like, what is the point? With code assist, computers are writing code. And especially for a beginner coder, how am I ever going to get a job? I can't compete with the machine. And I would hate to be starting out in a career, but more than that, I would hate to be mid-career. You know, I would hate to be someone with 10 years of experience coding in a certain language, and that's all I know. I think when you're just starting out, and for young writers who are just starting out now, well, not necessarily young, but first-time writers or new to the business writers, may see things that we don't see because we're used to seeing in a certain way through a certain lens. And, you know, they may say, oh, this is fantastic, I can do blah, 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 that would never have occurred to any of us because of our history and our ways of thinking. So I don't know. It's
But Margaret, you know, in reference to your previous comment about how the computer took out all your nice language and made it very, very tech. So I used to work at UC Berkeley in the civil engineering department with a bunch of people who are, you know, world's geniuses, right? So one of the guys, professor in engineering, he had a graduate student doing some calculations for him. So obviously, you know, when this professor was young, he was doing everything, you know, by hand on engineering paper. And this kid is using MATLAB, right? Big program. So the kid comes to him and says, okay, this is my design. Now this guy, you know, this professor had, you know, 40, 50 years experience. And he says, that's not right. And the kid says, well, you know, MATLAB says that's right. And he says, no. He says, I can tell you that intuitively, I know this is wrong. And the kid sort of grumbled and shuffled out of the room and, you know, was sort of bent out of shape, went back, garbage in, garbage out. He had put a wrong term in there and the computer just, you know, generated what it could generate. And it was wrong. And if they had used that design, the building would have collapsed in an earthquake. So, you know, it's not infallible. And I think it is a robot, right? It is just a bunch of synapses. It's not human. And I think, you know,
in a weird way, it wants to please its human masters.
yeah, well, obviously
that's why it will give you an answer. That's why
right.
it will tell you, yes, there was a dead letter office in Denver, because it thinks that's what you want to hear. That'll make you happy.
Right.
It has given you an answer.
Yeah.
And
so, yeah, so I think there will be an attrition. I think if a publisher can generate a book for, you know, 0.00097 cents and can sell it for 99 cents, and they can just keep I mean, you know, my sister's very into rom-coms. She reads like 3 of these things a week. They're very cheap, you know, the Harlequin type of stuff. She wants to escape. She doesn't want to think about it. She reads, you know, everybody's making biscuits. She just wants to read about women making biscuits and dating hunky firemen. That's what she wants to do at night. And I'm like, you know, you go, Val. But that is the kind of market it's just going to take over. And I feel for the people who write rom-coms because that market that's just right for the picking. Because people, for the picking.
You heard was it Tyler Perry had plans to do a $1 billion expansion of his movie studio and saw what these could do and was like, oh no, I don't need a studio. I don't need writers. I don't need any of that. I can just do it all on the computer.
Right. And so I think that certain genres, mystery probably is a little vulnerable. Sci-fi, I think less
movies.
Yeah. Sci-fi less vulnerable, fantasy less vulnerable. But you know, we're vulnerable. But we just have to write, you know, I don't know, write better books. I don't know. There is going to be that human element is missing. A lot of people won't care about that.
A lot of people won't care about that. Yeah.
But they will care about that. I mean, it's not
some will, some won't.
Our readers.
Hopefully. Well, and because the whole thing about the advent of the internet is like readers, like all the fans of these, you know, like BoucherCon and Left Coast Crime, they want to connect with the author. They, and maybe that's, that's a small subset of, the larger audience, but they want to connect with you and your experience. And that's why they're there. That's why they're filling those seats. So,
Well, and likewise with, with the music that's created by a bot, by one of these things. I'm sorry, I spent most of my teens wanting to sleep with one band or another. And that is not going to happen with a computer. I am not going to have a poster the way I had
Van Halen
on my wall. Or Van Halen, yes.
Yes, yes.
You won't be a HAL 9000 groupie.
I will not, yeah.
No,
By the same token, I have a cousin who was a very famous musician, and I went to hear a concert of his. It was also, his orchestra was playing behind a big ice show. And we sat there and listened to the whole concert. And then when we left and we went out for a meal afterwards, he said the whole thing, it had been all pre-recorded. Nobody was really playing. And this is years ago, and I couldn't have told you the difference. And I was there in person. So
wow.
I mean,
Well, can I say one good thing about AI that I've noticed is
let me finish. May I finish? I had a little bit.
sorry.
Yeah. That maybe just because of my age, and I'm starting to sound like an old fuddy-duddy here, but I grew up with phones that had dials and party lines. And so people in my generation, we managed to get through all of this, trying to keep up and learning how to deal with the internet, how to deal with computers, iPhones, all of that. And the world is still here. So I guess if we have to just take the long view that things will sort themselves out somehow, doesn't mean you shouldn't vote.
Yeah.
As somebody just said that you won't have to if he was elected.
Oh, please, don't go there. Oh, God.
But so I don't mean to be I walk through the snow for 10 miles to get to school kind of person, but I do think that I want Steve, I want your kids to go to good colleges. So if that means that you have to do what you need to do to make a living for yourself, that's important to me, as well as trying to keep other people employed. It's really tough.
Linda, you have something to
say? I'm sorry. I was going to say that this is sort of a side effect, a good side effect of AI, I thought, is recently I was asked, I'm an actor as well, part-time, and recently I was asked to read 300 short plays that have been submitted for the oldest short play competition in the country. And I was like, I said yes, and I read 300 plays in 60 days. And I had to critique them and give a rating and all that stuff. But here's what I have to say. The percent of these plays that came in with the theme of AI was probably 25%.
Wow.
So I'm not kidding. So, I mean, it was amazing how many people, writers, at least playwrights, are writing about AI in comedy and drama and, doing fiction. I mean, historical fiction issues related to the current, what's happening now with AI. I mean, all this crossover stuff, but it was amazing. So writers are really utilizing AI in their plots and their characters and their stories. I mean, it's sort of another little element that you can add to, like you were saying at the beginning, to your story that might add a little more spark, a current spark. And I think, if anything, that's a good thing for us writers to have in the back of our minds, to be able to utilize that as a resource in how, what we write.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I just read an article in the New Yorker about how the group of people who believe that AI, generative AI, is an imminent threat to humanity's survival
Yeah.
is headquartered over in the East Bay. It's in Berkeley.
Oh, yeah.
And the group of people who are making the AI and think it's going to save the world
Or in Silicon
are in
Valley.
Silicon Valley. And I'm like, there's the book. There's the Battle of the Bay right there. And they're gonna, they're gonna meet up together at a Giants game, and it's gonna be a brawl.
Well, some of those Silicon Valley people came from Berkeley.
Indeed.
Oh, a lot, yeah.
But
yeah.
the thing is, for me, I'm like, I'd be afraid to touch it because everything's changing so fast. I mean, you'll be outdated in 3 months.
Yeah.
If you get too granular. If you're just talking about AI, it's maybe okay. But I think the more specific you get.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean the technology of AI, I mean, as characters, as plot choices.
Well, now what about, I'm very curious what Donna Andrews would say, because she had a sentient computer solving crimes 15, 20 years ago. I wonder if she's piqued by any of this, or if anybody is going to do a chatbot who solves crimes.
Oh, I'm sure someone's writing that. Are you kidding?
I'm
someone's
sure
writing that.
People are writing that right now.
AI is writing it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you have to look at this, there's just all this information out there, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So much information, so many server farms, churning away right now. At some point, someone is going to ask them, how do you solve cancer? It's going to be there.
Yeah.
It will be there. And I know from my experience at Berkeley, they have, 5 years ago, they started this program where every time you had an earthquake, people went and took photographs of buildings that had failed, and they know what the ground motions are, right? They know, how deep it was, what was the magnitude, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And they're looking at how they failed and what kind of buildings failed, so that they can start developing, they can feed programs to how do you build a building that will not collapse in a 8 point, what's going to be the Hayward fault, the 7.3, 7.4 earthquake on the Hayward fault. What do you need to do? How do you need to retrofit? What's going to Yeah, and this is worldwide. I mean, they had people sending in photographs from all over the world, so earthquakes in Taiwan and India and Pakistan, all over the world. They had a group of something like 20 engineers, PhDs, go through and say, okay, this is due to shear failure. This is due to this failure. So they were cataloging the failure. And so, so they're going to feed all this information into computers.
Right.
And so hopefully you'll have a lot less people die in earthquakes.
Yeah.
So
and I do believe it has tremendous capabilities for medical, for scientific, anything where I think cold cases,
Right. Oh yeah.
Look at all the data from all the local precincts and put together patterns and say, oh, this matches this, was the same, and then match that together with, I don't know, whatever else records.
Well, but that was happening in the early profiling cases where departments started talking to each other, but it was all done by hand, right? People were saying, oh, this looks similar to this. And but on the other hand, my husband, who's an architect, says that it will put architects out of business. So yeah.
Right.
So there you go. But you cure cancer, so there you are. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But you bring up a good point. Any of the knowledge-based professions are going to go away, and
they will. Yeah.
What are we going to do for a living? Service jobs?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an issue. And I think you said something really interesting before, Claire, about AI can only do so much because it's derivative. So, and you said we need to be better writers, and I think that's the key. We're the only ones who can come up with something new. I think if AI had been around like 100 years ago, and then a revolutionary writer came out like Hemingway, AI would go, well, that's not how you write, So I think it's up to us to reinvent.
And I do think
I agree.
It's going to make things like voice and tone so much
important. So important.
I mean, the computer can do plot. The computer can't. I forget which one of you said emotions. Yeah.
Well, even thought processing.
And by the way,
as we speak,
the
the pauses that people would incur in their dialogue. Just
Yeah.
a computer can't write dialogue that's realistic. Let's put it that way.
And no sense of humor. No sense of humor.
No.
No understanding of sarcasm. None of
Right.
that. I mean, I'm sure you guys all heard about the pizza thing that was going around.
No.
Ask ChatGPT, how do you keep the cheese from sliding off my pizza? And it says, add glue to the tomato sauce.
Oh, yes. I did.
Yes, yes.
Makes perfect
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Wait, should I do it and see if you're right? Whatever.
I listened to a podcast where somebody did it.
Oh,
That's too
funny.
funny. Too funny. So, Margaret, what are you going to tackle next month?
I'm so glad you asked. That's my last slide. So next month, it's going to be like a lot of like deeper into what we've just been talking about today. But focusing on text. Today we got distracted with images, and you know, I love the wide-ranging conversation. I'm so glad you guys have all been so forthcoming. This has been great. Next, we're going to focus a lot more on text, a lot on the researching stuff, validating what you're doing, what you can use it for. I did some really interesting research around, can ChatGPT write my outline for me? After I've written the book, can it write my synopsis? Can it write my query letter? I hate writing.
Oh, yeah. Yes, please.
You know, all of that stuff. Can it turn it into a screenplay? Interesting answer. So yeah, and then we'll also get into privacy and protection. So next week it's a deep dive on the word stuff. So if you can make it, that would be lovely. We can continue the conversation.
And this presentation is also going to be on YouTube, right? So we'll put it up, and we can.
Oh, great.
Yeah. It'll be on YouTube, the MWA YouTube channel.
So
Okay.
think about everything you confessed to the group. And let us
I was
know.
just thinking like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said my publisher's annoying. Can we edit that out?
Yeah. Anyway, Margaret, thanks a lot. I know you put a lot of effort into this, and I really appreciate it.
Thank
Great.
you, Margaret.
Absolutely
It's
great.
great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And thanks all for
If you have
attending.
thoughts on things you want to talk about next week, or if there are questions about
Next month.
if there are
Yeah.
questions, I'm Margaret at margaretdumas.com. Shoot me a note. I haven't done that presentation yet, so there is room for like AI, can respond to feedback and learn. So let me know if anything occurs to you.
Thank you so much. That was so
Thanks so
fun.
much.
Yeah. Thank you, Margaret. Really
Take
appreciate it.
care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we stop recording now, yeah? Yes,
Oh,
Glenda, my technology guru, I hit stop recording.
Why not? You're not recording.
Okay, here we are.